Buongiorno a tutti, sono Matteo Nardon e sono il curatore di Open IDEE, un'organizzazione di Vodafone e Zero che vuole presentare a voi, a tutti voi e anche a quelli che ci guarderanno poi su YouTube, alcune delle idee più innovative che sono uscite nell'ultimo anno. Ieri abbiamo avuto la litrocamera con Eric Cheng, che l'ha presentata qui, una fotocamera che permette di scattare una foto e successivamente di decidere il focus della foto. Oggi abbiamo Matt Webb da Berg Studio, uno studio di Londra che ci presenterà Little Printer. Prego, Matt.
I thought what I'd do before I speak about Little Printer is show a few projects that Berg has done over the years, mainly because there's such a brilliant big screen, and we've got some videos to show, so that would be quite good. Do many people here have a design background, or is it general? Who here? Design students? Anyone? Or no? Okay, we'll just show some pictures. Oh, first this. This is what happens when you put presentation slides together very, very early in the morning. For some reason on the plane this morning, I was overwhelmed with the idea that I wanted to tell you about this dog. This dog is called Station Jim, and he lives in a box at a railway station called Slough. He's been dead for 104 years. And he's stuffed. He's quite impressive. When he used to live at the station, he used to smoke a pipe and climb a stepladder and collect money for charity. So when he died, they loved him so much. They do what you do to anything you love so much. You stuff it and put it in a box and keep it in public. So I was so amazed by this when I saw this dog that I did what any person does in the modern era. I'll read this to you. I put it on Twitter. I said, Slough railway station has an ancient taxidermy dog in a box. He's called Station Jim, and he's on platform 5. A couple of minutes later, Station Jim says, hi, Matt. Yeah, it's okay for you to laugh. You're on the better side of the glass. Wasn't quite expecting a dead dog to talk to me on Twitter. So naturally, I reply, I'm freaked out. I say, Station Jim is talking to me, this dead dog is speaking back to me. What do I do? Station Jim compliments my shoes. And then Station Jim says that, I'd be tatty too if I'd been sat in the box for 100 years. And, we kind of wrap up our conversation, and that's it. There is something very odd about living in the future, where dead, stuffed dogs in boxes on station platforms can be speaking to me, and can be talking to me as if they're alive. I have a little collection of things which look like they're alive. I just kind of keep a folder. We call it Hello Little Fella at work. And to me, if I was to sum up what the 21st century feels like to me, is that I can look at anything around me and I can't tell whether it's alive, whether it's going to speak back to me, whether it's going to respond in a way, whether it's full of intelligence or whatever, or not. So we might as well give those things interesting characters, is the idea. I'm the principal of a design studio in East London in the UK called Berg. This is what Berg looks like. I don't know what other people's design studios look like, but ours just mainly appears to be people looking at computer screens, which is how design is done nowadays. And for better or worse, we get talked about as being an innovative company, and people seem to like that. I don't really know what innovative means. We just attempt to do good work which is inventive and beautiful and mainstream, and people seem to like that. So I thought what I'd do today is show you some projects and then show you Little Printer. Oh, first. This is a quote from my colleague, Jack Schultz. I don't have a design background myself, so I don't really know what design is. So I collect definitions of what it is. Jack tells me that design is often thought about as solving problems, and design is not about problem solving. He says design is about cultural invention, which I really like as an idea. I wasn't really sure what culture is, but then I found this, this Italian designer, Bruno Munari, and he says that culture is the things that make life interesting. So I can kind of go with this definition. This is what I like. I don't really like just arranging things or making things look pretty. Making things interesting is more what we do. So just a few projects. I'll leave this video playing while I speak. This is a piece of work from 2009. It's a piece of work with Bonnier, who are a publisher based in Stockholm. And this is before the iPad came out. So at the time, the Kindle was the only tablet which was widely on sale. And the brief was to figure out what to do with digital magazines. And so we came up with this design concept. None of this exists. It's all done in post-production special effects. And now this is a very common idea with magazines. You scroll left and right to go between articles, and you scroll up and down to read them, and things look pretty. So we brought this video out really to start a conversation about what digital magazines could be. And it worked. This came out in December 2009. And our client, we took the video public, and our client got a phone call from Apple. And they said, next month we're having a special event. This is January 2010. Next month we're having an event, and we want you to come, but we can't tell you what it's about. Of course, that event was the announcement of the iPad. And our client phoned us up from the announcement of the iPad, I think touching the object. And she spoke on the phone. Why do people do that for phones? My phone isn't shaped like that. She said, can you build us this digital magazine? Would that work? You have 60 days. And it seemed a bit insane. But we did anyway. And this is the first magazine for the iPad. It was out on the day of launch, and we created this. Now on this same platform for magazines, I think they published the IKEA catalogue and 100 others. And you can see it works in much the same way. It's been shaped and formatted for the iPad, but it has it works in much the same way. The reason I wanted to show you this is it's one of the few pieces of work where I have the very, very first prototype video, which I don't often show. So I wanted to show you this, because usually people only see design work right at the end, where it looks very polished and complete. This is how this work started. This is a copy of GQ magazine, cut up with scissors and sellotaped to a door. And one person is moving a piece of paper slightly faster to get some parallax, and somebody else is going down like this with a phone, and then we record it back as a video and play it and pretend to use it and go, does this work? Based on this, work for like 9 months. And that's where things start. Let me show you some more. I'm only showing you this one because the screen is so great. It's just a really nice looking video. So this is a piece of work called Making Future Magic, which was a technique of doing photography and stop motion. Again, using iPads. We're a fan of iPads. And to introduce the technique, I'm going to use this guy. He presents a major news program in the UK. And so the video we did ended up on television. But the video is just something pretty. It's not design work to improve anyone's lives.
Tonight, before we leave you, an advertising agency called Dentsu London and a film company called Berg were playing around with tablet PCs recently in search of ideas and came up with this. You take an iPad and move it along while the screen flashes up a series of 3D letters as seen in cross-section like this. And if you photograph what you're doing on one single long exposure shot, it looks like this. So they made a movie of it, and here's an extract. Good night.
So you saw that long exposure photograph. Each of those photos takes about 10 seconds. The video is about 4 minutes long. It includes 5,500 long exposure photos. I think for the project, 8,000 photos were taken, and they all have to be taken at night because then it's dark and you can do light painting. I'm never going to do a project which needs to be done at night again. It's really stupid because you only do all your work between 10 p.m. and 3 a.m. It's insane. Okay, more projects. This is one of my favorite projects. We did this last year with an incredible comics author named Warren Ellis. He now writes movies, still does comics, and Matt Brooker, who's an artist. And this is a physical comic. You know, after doing iPad magazines, we felt the need to make something out of paper. It's called SVK. The main guy on the bottom left is called Thomas Woodwind, and he's a detective. So this is a detective science fiction story. And the idea of the story is that Thomas Woodwind discovers a device that lets him read people's minds as if he can see their thoughts written above their heads in glowing letters. With the comic, you get this device, the SVK. It comes in the bag with the comic. And when you're reading the comic and the SVK gets mentioned, you notice that when you activate it, it puts out a purple light. It's actually an ultraviolet torch. So the comic, when you shine the torch on it, you too can read people's thoughts. And it turns out the entire thing is printed in invisible ink. And you only get told this halfway through the comic. And you can go back to the beginning, and there's a whole other story to be told there. We sold adverts in the comic, which are also printed in invisible ink. And I learned from that we are a terrible advertising agency. It's very, very hard work. If anybody here does work for an advertising agency, you are worth every euro you are paid. It's very difficult. So we won't do that again. But it was quite good fun having a warehouse full of comics. And the story was really good too. Now I'm going to show you the oldest project we've done, so you can kind of see where I come from in design ideas. This is a very, very old project, so 2006, 6 years ago. This is a puppet that plugs into my computer, and it represents one of my friends on instant messaging. Does anybody here still use instant messaging? You know, like AIM? You know, it was really big a few years ago. Everyone used it. Back in 2006, it was huge. Not anymore. But it represents one of your friends on IM. Just one, and we would imagine that you would plug it into your computer at work. That was when computers still had USB ports, unlike the iPad. And you would show off about having a close relationship with this one person. This is a really old video of the prototype working. And that at the bottom, Schultz and Webb, is the old name of Berg from 6 years ago. So this is how it works. So there's the puppet. It looks like your friend. And it plugs into IM, and there they are. And they go offline. They come online. You can guess what happens. We were going to be billionaires. We thought we'd sell 4 of these to every teenage kid in the world. Turns out we couldn't have done anything harder. It's maybe the hardest project I've ever tried to do, with the exception of Little Printer, because there are loads of tiny bits of plastic held together with string, and string always breaks. There's electronics, there's connecting to the internet, there's software on the computer. And in the meantime, people stopped having desktop PCs, so there's no desk anymore. And everyone stopped using IM, so there's no instant messaging. So, you know, that happened. But these are the bits. I think some of these bits are from tooling up in China. We got a long way into this. We were, deciding whether to go ahead and make 10,000 or not. And that's an odd feeling, when somebody asks you, do you want to just start making things? People you've never seen working really hard. But, it didn't work in the end. It's always good to show some failed projects as well, I think. Okay, last project. This is a piece of work we did for a magazine named Icon in the UK, which is a design magazine. And they asked us to rethink the conventional shop receipt. So here it is. You can imagine that this is a receipt for a coffee shop or a place that sells coffee and sandwiches. And, when you're waiting for your coffee, you have maybe a minute of just, waiting. And the receipt gives you something to look at. So at the top of the receipt, it's the things you might need to just kind of scribble down. What time it is, if it's going to be an expense, writing that down. Then, why not just kind of make it look a bit pretty? Just kind of how much you've paid. And it just says something about the year as well. We quite like the idea of, if it was £5.14, then say in 514 AD, what happened in that year? A little fact. Little pub fact. Lower down, it tells you calorie information, stock information, so you know when to come back in to get it tomorrow. What I like most is that a shop knows where it is. So it can give you a little recommendation of a gallery nearby. If you're still around this afternoon, you might enjoy this gallery. And then right at the bottom, because you've paid with your credit card, it would recognize who you are tomorrow. And you could tick a box and say, I would prefer on my receipt a coupon, or some kind of news headlines, or whatever, and you would tick that and tear it off and give it to the shop, and they would make sure you received that the next day. And so we were doing this project last year, and the receipt came out, and people said, "That's really good. Could you make a product that does that?" And we were like, "We're not telling anyone," because at the time we hadn't announced Little Printer. So ideas always leak out in weird ways. Anyway, people are here to see Little Printer, so I'm going to spend the next half of my talk just talking about that. But first of all, because I like to prolong the suspense and not show the object immediately, I thought I'd just talk a little bit about smart products, just to really string it out. So there's an interesting trend which has been happening with connected products recently. This is, I think, one of the oldest, if not the oldest, to be sold on the market. It's French. It's a rabbit that connects by Wi-Fi, that wiggles its ears when you have email. I think it's quite good. I'm not quite sure. I could never tell what it did when I went round to a friend's house and saw one there. But people really like them. And I think that's really important. I think there's when I look at my phone, it looks so serious, this kind of black block. But when I look at the rabbit, it looks cheerful. And I think that's been so overlooked in product design recently. So I really enjoy that trend. But I think it's interesting to see when things start getting connected to the internet, what happens. This is another one from a couple of years ago. This is the Vitality Glow Caps. Do you know this product? It's a medicine bottle top. And if you don't take your pills prescribed to you by your doctor, then it plays a ringtone. Or it connects to the internet and tells your mum, or your insurance company. Or it gives you points. You can turn it into a game. So you can do all these kinds of things because different people are motivated in different ways. And it's such a lovely idea, that people are motivated in different ways, and by connecting to the internet, you can do something that's more appealing to anyone. This one, I guess, many people will have seen. This is the Nest thermostat, which came out just at the end of last year, beginning of this year. And it sits in your house and helps regulate the temperature. So it does a very ordinary thing. but it does it by learning, and it understands what you're doing, and it learns from other people. And all of that is very important, important too, because when things get connected to the internet, it's as if they have, well, you know, like the dinosaur, the Brontosaurus has a big brain in its head, but it has a small brain in its behind to control its tail as well, you know. To me, these kind of connected products are a bit like that. They have a small brain in the product, which just makes the thermostat work. But then they have a big brain, which is the size of the entire internet, so they can do anything at all. And that's kind of an interesting bit of product design we're seeing now. So the way I see products changing is, you know, for 30 years, 40 years, all technology was made for the business. You know, Dell computers or Hewlett-Packards, they were business machines. Now they're for the home. It used to be everything was about ease of use, usability, doing things quickly and efficiently. Now things can be delightful because they're for the home. And I really like that too. It's a new thing. I don't know who realized, but you know, someone at Apple realized that when you use your to-do list, it could just be fun to use. And nobody had realized that before. It's a great thing. The last thing is that products do a lot of work for me now. They never used to, but now they're connected to the internet. They do all kinds of things. So Little Printer, I hope, falls into all of those three categories. You know, it's for the home, it's delightful, and it works for me. So this is Little Printer. We announced it at the end of last year. It's a small, connected printer that sits in your home. What does it do? It produces a miniature personal newspaper. You choose what you want it to do, and so you personalize it. It's like a personal newspaper, and it comes out every single day. And I have one here. The problem with Little Printer is it's very little. So nobody at the back can see it. But here he is. This is the model which was made for the film about 4 months ago. So I have the newer models in the studio back in London, but I can't take those around with me yet. Those are the ones that are being manufactured. But I had this one, and I set it up to kind of do some work. And I'll just kind of show you a little about how it works, and then we'll go on and I'll show you some slides about what it does. As I said, Little Printer is producing this miniature personal newspaper. I choose what I would like it to do using my smartphone. There's no PC, no laptop required, just uses my smartphone. And I choose what time I want publications to arrive. When they arrive, a delivery comes in. This white light comes on. There's a white light here. And that means there is my newspaper ready for me to pick up. And I can print that out simply by pressing the black button. This model is slightly loud because the tooling is not very exact, so it wobbles around a bit. But we can see on here 3 different publications. I can see for the guys at the back, I'm going to have to find a better way of doing demos in the future. There are 3 publications on here. Always finishes with the face. So at the top, there are news headlines. So I've chosen to receive news headlines every morning at, let's see, at 8 a.m., I think. And those are from The Guardian, which is a newspaper in the UK. I also like to do a puzzle in the morning, and I've been able to choose whether that's easy, medium, or difficult. I like my puzzles to be medium, like slightly harder but not too difficult, because I'm not very awake before coffee when I'm on the bus. At the bottom is, at the moment, my favorite publication, which only comes once a week, and that is the birthdays of my friends coming up this week. And I like that because I'm very bad at remembering birthdays. You know, I have to be reminded. And when they're on my phone, I forget to open my phone. So this way, I can tear it off and I can carry it around in my wallet. or stick it to my fridge, and it will remind me of when I need to go and buy gifts or cards. So that's Little Printer, and that's just the publication I put together for this morning. Why don't I show you a little about how it works? I'll do that with some slides. Yeah. Cool. So a few more things. I'm not going to be doing any more demos with this for the minute. So the way it works is this piece of paper is divided up into lots of different publications. So you can see on these slides here, there are 4 publications on this. There's headlines, there's a puzzle. I think, I've made that 2 at the bottom. That's a picture of the day. We take that from Instagram. And what you do, you get your little printer, and when that publication is ready, the light comes on, and you saw me just do that. It prints out. So I'd expect that to happen maybe once a day. We encourage people to print out their newspaper just once, maybe twice a day. You set it up using this website on your smartphone. So when you go to the smartphone, here there's a list of the publications I own. And there's a kind of a publication store in the same way that there's an app store. So I can choose which extra publications to add. When I add them, this is me adding the daily puzzle. So I'm using my phone. I've done add publication, add puzzle. And I can choose what time I would like this puzzle to be delivered. So I can choose any time I want, 7 a.m., 8 a.m. But I have to choose an exact hour. I can't choose 8:15 or 10:21. And the reason for that is to encourage people to send through a number of publications all at the same time on the top of the hour, which is why it comes out into a single delivery, like this. I've also shown here that I get to choose how difficult the puzzle is. And there's a there's a personalization which occurs. In the same way I would personalize when I link it to Google. I might put in my user details or the newspaper, what sections I'd like to see. So I'll just show you some of the publications we have lined up for launch. Little Printer is going to be coming out mid this year. So these are headlines from The Guardian. I really like these ones just because it's nice to know that nothing serious has happened on my way to work. There's no real other reason I listen to the news, just to make sure that nothing's burnt down and nobody's dead. That's fine. This is a collectible piece from Arup. Arup are an architecture and engineering company. They did the Sydney Opera House, and they have many pieces of great architecture. I'm a fan of good architecture, so I want to collect these, and these will come through once a week if I sign up. This is another launch partner. Our launch partners are people who will be providing publications on the day of launch. So this third launch partner is Google, and this is a to-do list, which comes from my Google Calendar. So it'll tell me what my tasks are. Little Printer is really good for this kind of thing, because I would otherwise look at my to-do list maybe 12 times a day. And this way, I can carry it with me, in the same way I write down my tasks on a Post-it note when I get into work. So it's a handy thing. This is another launch partner, it's Foursquare. It's quite nice if I subscribe to receive this publication at 6 p.m. on a Friday. It can tell me where my friends are. Also, the recommendations on Foursquare are really good. So we're hoping to build something which will advise us where to go at the weekends. Where have my friends been going recently? And the fifth launch partner is Nike. So we're hoping here to build imagine a Couch to 5K running program to tell you how far to run every day, but it's linked to your Nike Plus, so it knows whether you ran yesterday. That's the kind of thing we want to make. You'll be able to subscribe to publications from any of these 5 launch partners, Arup, Foursquare, Google, The Guardian, and Nike. But you'll also be able to subscribe to many more, because we've made it really, really easy to make a publication. One of those publications is really just a very thin black and white web page. So anybody who can make web pages can make a publication. And I'm hoping that some people here will. So I'll just tell you a little bit about what makes a really good publication. Really good publications are ones that you can carry with you that replace time you would spend looking at your phone many times a day. So anything where you have to look at your phone a lot and you can have it printed instead, that's a really good publication. So maybe one that monitors your Google Calendar, and whenever there's a place with an address, it gives you the map, because then you can carry the map with you. That would be really useful. Anything you want to tear off and give to your friends. So restaurant recommendations, theater recommendations, birthdays of your friends, anything which is social. That's very good. Coupons, obviously. When I have an app on my phone, I have to remember to open it every day. But when I subscribe to a shop who gives me a coupon, maybe once every 2 or 3 weeks, that's a really long relationship I can have with that shop. So it's really good for that. The last thing it's really good for is anything you need to write on. So anything you can scribble on. So we've been trying dot-to-dots and puzzles, mazes. We had somebody write in when we announced this and say it would be really good for her kids to have a new thing to color in every morning with breakfast. And that's a really nice idea. So you could tear it off and the kids would be able to color it in with crayons every morning. So those make really good publications. There's one more feature which I'm going to try doing live. I don't often do this. So this is the mobile interface. And on the mobile interface, I can see all the printers that my friends have as well. So, you know, my friends at work all have little printers too. And I'm friends with them, so I can send messages to their little printer, as you'd expect. You know, I can send a private message. So what I'm going to try doing is I'm going to try sending a message to this printer here. Now, this is not guaranteed to work because I'm running on hardware which is 4 months old. But I'll tell you roughly what's happening. When I send a message from here, it's going up to a website which is in the cloud. Oh, it worked. Huh. It's going up to a website which is in the cloud. The cloud is turning this message into an image, and it's sending it down to a little box which is on the floor. And that little box is connected wirelessly to little printer. And it prints a message which says, "Hello, Zero and Milano." So who would like this? Who would like this? So you can imagine in the future we could scribble on it, or we could send pictures, or whatever. But messaging seems to be a really important thing to build in. Although I was watching TV the other night, and it was one of those Swedish crime dramas, which is very, very tense. And somebody sent me a message on my little printer, and it scared me to death, because it makes this noise, and you don't expect it to come anywhere. So as I said, the way it works is there's this phone, and that's connecting to a website. This is the technical bit, the only technical slide. The phone connects to this website where you make the message. The website is connected to by a little box that we call Berg Cloud Bridge, and that connects to the printer. So on the floor, and maybe people can see this afterwards, there's a little piece of electronics which is doing all the smart things for little printer. It's making all the connections to the internet. So what's in here is very, very simple. The reason for this extra piece is that at Berg we have an aspiration to make a whole family of connected products. We see little printer as the first of maybe 10 or 20 to come out over the next few years. And to do this, we can make very simple products if we have this complex bridge in everyone's homes. So afterwards, come and have a look. It's on the floor. It looks like a prototype because the industrial design is not yet complete, or at least not for this version. But it's what will enable all our future products. I'm just going to show you a little about where we are right at the moment, because I know people are very curious. We announced at the end of November last year, and we've been very busy working since. This is a CAD model of Little Printer itself. This is a CAD of what's called a tool, which is the thing that produces all the bits of plastic for Little Printer. So this is currently in China, where it's being used to injection mold plastic. And just to give you an idea, because this was a surprise to me as well, I've never done manufacture before, is that if Little Printer is this big, that big, this tool here is this big. And it's made out of steel. It's a huge, huge object. This is just one part of it. And you can see, I don't know, just behind that green pipe, you can see two slightly curved objects. Those are the feet. So all of that machine there is made to use the feet. The green pipe is where the molten plastic comes in before it goes into the mold. So, you know, really interesting thing, and I find it very curious that I've never seen this machine. I've only had the bits come back to me in the post. And this is the machine being made. So the tool itself has to go through its own production process. And so one of the reasons it takes so long to produce an object like Little Printer, as opposed to a website or a mobile, is that all these things are many thousands of miles away, many time zones away, and atoms are very, very slow to move compared to bytes. But I think it's worth it, just because I really want to put delightful, handy products in people's homes. And so Little Printer will be going on sale mid this year, and will be ramping up over the rest of the year. Production is occurring at the moment in China, Slovenia, and going to be in the UK as well. And we'll be making some more announcements in the next few weeks. I thought I'd wrap up just by showing the announcement video we did back in November, because it has some nice music. And then we'll go to questions, I think. Cool. Cheers.
Ringraziamo Matt. Thank you, Matt, for your presentation. So we'll take some questions.
Two very practical questions. First, how much does the ink last on the paper?
There's no ink.
It's thermal.
So it's a thermal printer of the kind you see in shops. And we've chosen a standard width of the paper. So you'll be able to buy the paper from pretty much any store which already uses it. We'll be selling paper ourselves, and the paper we sell ourselves will be from recycled sources and a better quality. We also encourage people to make their publications very short. And because of that, we anticipate most people will print 30 centimeters a day, and the paper then will last for about 2.5 months.
Okay, and so the second question is, can I start writing publications right now so that they'll be available when the print comes out? Is there an API or something?
We're going to be publishing details of the API in the next few weeks. Cool. And if you email to info@bergcloud.com and you say you're interested in the API, we'll make sure you get the details earliest.
Thanks. Any other questions?
We've not announced that yet, but if you join up on the mailing list, I can't say at the moment. I'd be in trouble with everyone else in the studio if I let that on. Yeah.
What kind of format are you going to use, like HTML or similar form?
Yes, so really each of these publications is just a very narrow black and white website. I think I can't remember how far across it is, but yes, it's HTML. And we're basically running a web browser in the cloud. Yeah.
How are you going to sell it? I mean, only on your website, or are we going to find it in stores?
It's going to be direct sales to begin with. One of the reasons for doing SVK, the comic, was to get practice at selling things from our own warehouses, and that went well. We understand how to ship now, and so with Little Printer, we'll do direct sales to begin with, and then get out into stores later. I mean, we're a very small company. We're only 15 people. And so dealing with stores is very complicated, very fiddly. Lots of lunches and chatting, And so we have to choose very carefully where we spend our time.
Yeah. So you can buy one here in Italy, for example, or in Spain, or in Asia.
And ship internationally.
And publication will be available in different languages?
To begin with, we're going to be in English. And because multi-language is also time-consuming. So we'll iron out the bugs to begin with. Sell to anyone, of course. Okay. But we'll have to wait until we can localize the entire interface. So you have to subscribe to publications which are made by other people. Mm-hmm. And so it depends what customization they've built in. So you choose what time you want things to arrive, and the publications come in just one after each other. Okay. We don't have anything graphical to drag that around to begin with. The only place you can see it is when it's printed out.
Okay, thanks.
You said each publication you said each publication is an image. Is it right?
Yeah, it's a web page made into an image.
But each one is an image. Which resolution?
Now I can't remember. I should know.
I'm trying to imagine the different result on the phone, maybe, and over there. So I'm curious because do you remember the format of the image?
It's a little under 400 pixels across.
Okay.
And it's black and white.
Okay.
So things that work
even on screen. Hmm? Even on screen, it's black and white.
Well, it's because you can only see it when it's printed. The things that come out. Yeah.
The whole thing.
But it makes for a very interesting kind of quality, because it looks a bit like pixel art. You can see the dots.
It's stylish,
but also a bit like kind of a pen and ink drawing. But yeah, there's no way to see it before it's printed.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to ask you, how can you add your own content? I mean, you have to pay something, or it's going to be free for everybody?
To begin with, it's going to be free for everyone to make publications. Yeah. I would like to add a way to charge in the future, because I think some...
like an app store for publications?
Yeah. So at the moment, the publication store will be, it'll be all free publications. So anyone can make a publication and share it with everyone else.
And maybe you can use another app to connect with the Little Printer, or it's going to be only via your app?
We're going to be providing an API so that people can print out from it. So you'll be able to make a publication which prints out from other things. But in the future, I think it would be good to let people charge money, because there are some kind of services which are really valuable, and people do want to be able to charge for that. A few people have asked, but free to begin with.
Could you talk a bit more about the small box connected to the cloud? Because I wonder, why can't all the future devices just be connected to the web? I mean, to the Berg cloud on the web, and why do you need a physical box to do that?
Sure. So the box that's being referred to is this. Let me see. This slightly hokey lump of electronics down here. This is about 4 months old, this box, so it's not been put in the box yet. And what's happening is this connects by Ethernet to your computer, and it makes a new kind of wireless connection, which this and this connect to. But it's zero configuration, so it makes it very, very quick and easy to set up. But it has a lot of complexity and cost in this. So when we want to make more products, we want to make sure that those products can be cheap, and that means they can reuse all the complexity of this. If we were to have these as a single object, it would mean that our future products would have to include this again, and it would put the price up. The other thing I like is that the wireless chip on this end is very low power. So a little printer needs to be powered in order to do the printing. But you could imagine a product in the future that wirelessly connected to Berg Cloud, but was battery powered. And I'm very interested in 2 years in the idea of wearable computing. What are the things that we wear that connect to the internet, and what kind of things could they do? So that's why we adopted this technology, because it will let us make wearable products down the line as well. Yeah.
Other questions? Allora, vi ringrazio tutti per essere venuti oggi a seguire questa seconda giornata di Open IDEE. Domani vi invitiamo alle 11 a vedere Vectorialism, che sono dei ragazzi di Milano che presentano la loro stampante in 3D. Grazie.